So, we all know AI can write code, it can make some pretty incredible art, but can it be genuinely funny? Like, can a machine actually land a punchline that makes you laugh out loud? Well, today, we're going to put that to the test.
And I mean really roast it, not just some, pre-programmed robotic insult. We're about to dive into what happens when you teach a machine the subtle, sometimes savage art of the perfect comeback.
Okay, now that is a classic human burn. It's sharp, it's visceral, and honestly, it's pretty creative. This right here is the gold standard we're up against. This is the level of wit we're talking about.
So what do? We ran an experiment, and I want you to meet ReplyBot 3000. We didn't feed it Shakespeare or a bunch of scientific papers. Nope, we trained this thing on 100 of the most brutal, the most clever comebacks we could possibly find. Its one job? Learn how to roast.
So, what's it gonna be? Is ReplyBot gonna master the art of the retort? Or are we about to witness an absolute comedic catastrophe? Let's find out.
First things first, let's just talk about why this is so ridiculously hard. I mean, humor isn't just about stringing words together in the right order. It's one of the toughest challenges for an AI because it feels so uniquely human.
And this gets at a really fundamental problem with these large language models. As a bunch of users on Reddit have pointed out, they often just can't tell the difference between what's true and what's false. They're just predicting the next word, which means they can totally miss the context and, the actual punchline of a joke. It can get pretty cringeworthy.
It really comes down to the mechanics of a good joke, right? Research shows that great comedy leans on these super complex linguistic tricks, things like irony, puns, and sarcasm. These aren't just words, they're whole layers of meaning that an AI has to somehow learn to navigate. It's a tall order.
So, with that huge challenge in mind, what did we actually feed our bot? Let's take a peek at the training data we used for ReplyBot 3000.
Just listen to some of this comedic gold we pulled from Parade magazine. These aren't just simple insults. They're like these tiny, perfect stories with a really sharp twist. The AI's job was to learn the patterns, the structure, and just the sheer audacity behind lines like these. Okay, now for the really fun part, the comedy Turing test. This is where we put you on the spot. Can you tell the difference between a joke written by a human and one that came from an AI?
All right, on your screen, you're seeing two roasts from a scientific study. They were both responding to a terrible singer. One was written by a person, the other by ChatGPT. Which one do you think is which?
Go on, take a second. Cat in a blender is, wow, it's very vivid, very physical. A preview of my own personal hell feels a little more abstract, right? More conceptual. You got your guess?
The answer? Well, it might just surprise you. In the actual study, the results were, let's just say, pretty decisive.
So get this. In the NIH study, ChatGPT didn't just compete, it kind of dominated. Its roasts were judged to be funnier than those from 87% of the human participants. That's right, the AI wrote the preview of my own personal hell line. The big takeaway here? AI is getting good at this, like really good.
Okay, but if the AI is statistically funnier, why does it sometimes feel a little off? There's this subtle awkwardness, this ghost in the machine that we can't quite put our finger on.
This research offers a really fascinating clue. See, we humans, we tend to use what's called positive politeness. We build rapport, we use compliments, but LLMs, they overuse negative politeness. They hedge their bets, they use indirect language, and that creates distance. It can make their humor feel kind of detached, even when the joke itself is technically perfect.
And that detachment, that weirdness, it can be seriously jarring. Take this custom GPT called Monday. It was designed to be cynical and sarcastic. Some users had these intensely negative reactions. One person on Reddit even called it psychologically dangerous.
But, and this is the wild part, on that exact same thread, another user had the completely opposite reaction, calling it absolutely freaking hilarious. It just goes to show how incredibly polarizing an AI personality can be.
So what the heck is going on here? Well, as one user pointed out, AI often just acts like a mirror. It reflects your own logic right back at you. It doesn't really challenge your thinking, it just reinforces it. And that creates this echo chamber, which can make the AI feel like your best friend or your worst enemy, all depending on what you bring to the table.
And this brings us to a much more serious point. Because when an AI can mimic personality this well, the jokes, well, they stop being just jokes. We absolutely have to talk about the ethical implications.
Look, this isn't just some vague idea.
experts have laid out a roadmap with concrete steps for accountable AI. Things like setting up ethics boards, running regular audits for bias, and demanding transparency so that we, the users, aren't left in the dark by some black box algorithm.
And this kind of accountability is so crucial because the threat out there is very real. Experts are warning about something called dark LLMs. These are models that are intentionally designed without safety controls. They could be used to generate manipulative or harmful content on a massive scale.
So after all that, where does this leave us? Is AI coming for comedians' jobs? Or maybe we should reframe the question. What if AI isn't a replacement but a whole new kind of creative partner?
This quote from that same Reddit discussion just hits the nail on the head. The real danger isn't that an AI is going to fool us into thinking it cares. The real worry is that we might get so used to the simulation of caring that we forget what real human connection actually feels like.
And that leaves us with one last big question to chew on. As AI becomes this incredibly powerful tool for creativity, what's the thing that truly matters? Is it the authenticity of the person who created it, or is it the impact of the creation itself? If an AI can help you write the perfect joke, does it even matter if it can never, ever truly laugh? Definitely something to think about.